I wouldn't even, I mean, I would want to ride it just to see what 33 horsepower feels like. I feel like my lawnmower has more horsepower than that, but, you know, that's yet to be determined. I guess if we end up getting one of these things, we can line the Briggs & Stratton up against the John Way 400 and see how it does. Today I want to introduce to you the new and improved Indian Springfield and Indian Scout lineup. Now, this is from their John Way division, and they've taken everything we know and love about the Indian Scout and the Springfield, totally redesigned it. I mean, it's a brand new design, essentially. They put smaller motors in there so they're more economically friendly. I mean, the specs on these things are really, really impressive. Now, if you haven't picked up yet, this is totally satirical, and I'm about to take a big dump on this thing. So if you don't want to watch the video, I totally understand. But if you do, I hope that you enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe and hit your notifications so you never miss a video from me. Now, if I were to just show you a picture of this bike right here, what would you think it was? Let's take off the badge, of course. Most people that know anything about motorcycles or whatever would say, oh, that's an Indian. Nope. This is the John Way. And so I was, I don't even remember how I came across this thing, but they've essentially copied Indian in every way except in what Indian actually does well. They decided to scrap that whole notion because they don't want to be total copycats. This is their YY800. So, like the name implies, it's an 800cc. If you want to look at some of these pictures, they even have some really cool videos on these things. Oh, go for it. And there's some obvious differences like the exhaust, kind of the engine design, but it's still a V-twin, you know, Chinese edition. Full LED lighting, front dual disc, front and rear ABS even, inverted front forks. Man, this thing is a powerhouse, dude. Now, 44,000 yen, whatever that works out to be in American dollars, I have no idea. These things, at least the John Way 400 showed up in Europe not too long ago, I guess. We'll talk about if they'll ever make it to the United States and how I feel that response would be. There's some of the specs on it, dude. This thing is pushing out, you know, max, like 60 horsepower, 46.5 foot-pounds of torque. Now, the one thing that Indian does really well, and some people will say, oh, Indian copies Harley completely, you know, and they obviously take some inspiration, but I feel like they do their own thing. You know, liquid cooled motors, they've had ride modes for years now. You know, they've done some redesign, changed up the bags from the old bubble design and made them more appealing, right? And so they still have the Indian Springfield, the classic with the fringe and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, they still do some of that, but they've made great improvements in making Indian their own thing, okay? With obvious inspiration from Harley Davidson because Harley's been doing it so long. But one thing Indian's really good at, well, they're good at a couple things. Typically, they're going to put full LEDs all the way around, which is an awesome thing. And they're also going to deliver maximum horsepower when it comes to their cruisers and their baggers. You know, the 108 Power Plus, you know, is 128 foot-pounds of torque. It's 122 horsepower. That's a fun bike to ride, especially in the Challenger platform, which is my favorite amongst the Indians. 60 horsepower. Now, I understand this is made for a different demographic, but 60 horsepower and 45 foot-pounds of torque. Now, let me show you one that's even funnier. You know, obviously, aesthetically, that one looks just like, well, this one right here. Hey, I already had it pulled up. Check it out. Let's see. Let's go back up to the top and check out this thing. You know, this is, look, oh my God, dude, I didn't even notice this. They even have the war bonnet on the front. Look at that. Dude, what a disgrace. I mean, they have the fringe on the saddlebags. This thing, and look, you have pegs. You know, this is a cruiser type of motorcycle. They don't even give you floorboards. So they take literally everything about the aesthetics from the hood cowling right here, which looks just like the Indian Springfield, LED lighting, even the swept back look of the bars looks like an Indian Springfield, and yet they leave off all of the best features, including a motor that's pushing 60 horsepower. By the way, it's like 500 pounds. Here's the other one. If you're a fan of the Indian Scout lineup, you're surely going to love this one. This is almost an exact replica of the Indian Scout. Now, wait till we talk about the specs on this thing, but let me show you some of the unique features. I mean, it's obvious. They took this thing from the ground up and they made their own motorcycle completely. Kudos. So we're going to... I hate this so much. Okay, hold on. You go to the next bike there whenever you do that. Full LED lighting. There's your retro pointer. Water cooled. I mean, dude, come on, bro. The only thing that strikes me as like different is the pipes don't go all the way back like they do on an Indian Scout. It looks like an overall shorter bike, maybe. And that's pretty much it. I mean, even the motor on this one looks very reminiscent. Let's see if they got a close-up of the motor. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Indian heads on this thing, dude. Minus the fake fins. What a disgrace. I mean, you know, this is just a complete abomination, man. It bugs the crap out of me. I don't know. I'd love to hear how y'all feel about this, man. This is not something I would buy, but being, you know, somebody that reviews motorcycles, when I see this, it makes total sense where this thing comes from. I get it, you know, coming straight out of China land, but it's just a disgrace, man. And so if you wanted to see the specs on this, actually, Top Gear, no, who did this? I want to give them credit. Top Speed did a review on this bike, and I mean, they were obviously kind of playing off the same thing, design of the Indian Scout. I mean, John Way 400, but they did speak to it kind of good. But I just wanted to show you what the specs of this thing is, because it is groundbreaking. The John Way 400, as its name suggests, can produce up to 33 horsepower and 20 foot-pounds of torque. Dude, with that kind of power, you're ready to go to Sturgis and back, no problem. Get yourself some saddlebags. You could probably buy them right off of Indian's website and throw them right on the John Way 400, and you'll be good to go. 33 horsepower. Now, what's interesting is they actually say the Honda Rebel 500 produces 47 horsepower, and the Kawasaki Eliminator, which I really want to do a review on, is turning out 45 horsepower. So, like I said, you know, one of the great things about the Indian Scout specifically, I mean, hell, even the Indian Scout 60 blows those numbers away, but the original Scout is 100 horsepower, dude. And like, I don't know, what is it, 500 pounds, 550 pounds? That thing will move. That's one of the best parts about the Indian Scout series, man. They're lightweight, and they've got really good motors in them, dude, and really good torque and horsepower. This thing copies everything about what's great about the Indian Scout aesthetically, but leaves out the good parts. And again, we're talking about two demographics, two totally different demographics, because in America, this would not fly. I'm interested to see if they would even bring this to the American market. I'm sure at some point they probably will, but they're going to have to up those numbers a ton. And then, you know, if they were to bring it into America, could Indian then sue them because the obvious design choices they use is almost a direct copy? I have no idea, but I know that if you bring something into America like that, even a starter bike, I'm not opposed to starter bikes, by the way, but even a starter bike, you need to at least have 40, 50 horsepower somewhere in there, so people are going to want to trade it in the next day. I mean, once you get used to that, something like 33 horsepower and 20 foot-pounds of torque, you know, you're going to be tired of that thing after just a few hours, man. So again, I'm not opposed to starter bikes. I think they're a good idea. If you're just getting into it, get yourself comfortable and all that. I'm not knocking that at all. But this thing ain't even close. So my guess would be they'll gauge how it does in Europe, which may be a little more open to something like this. But if it were to come to America, it's going to be a long time, and they would really have to up it. As far as what I see, this is a total piece of shit, and there's no way I would ever buy one of these. I wouldn't. I mean, I would want to ride it just to see what 33 horsepower feels like. I feel like my lawnmower has more horsepower than that, but you know, that's yet to be determined. I guess if we end up getting one of these things, we can line the Briggs & Stratton up against the John Way 400 and see how it does. If you like this type of video, make sure you drop me a like on it. Subscribe to the channel while you're here. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.